Hello and welcome to episode 203 of my podcast all about knitting and crochet and my yarn shop here in Wiesbaden, Germany. I'm Kiko and today is October 9th, 2023. Today I'm wearing a fairly old loop scarf that's called Haramaki-Boshi. And those are two Japanese words, and a lot of you may have heard about the haramaki, which is a Japanese word for something that you wear around your middle to keep your stomach warm. And boshi is the Japanese word for hat. And this was called Haramaki-Boshi because you can wear it around your middle to keep your stomach warm, or you can make a hat out of it by turning it inside out, and then you squash it together in the middle. You turn it like this. And then you fold it one half over the other, and then you can wear this as a hat. This is not the perfect version to wear as a hat. If you work like a rib stitch or something, it works a little better, but I could, if I wanted, wear this as a hat. So this is the boshi part. The haramaki would be wearing it around your middle, but you can also wear it as a loop scarf or as a like this around your head and around your neck. So there's many ways of wearing this. And later, after I knit this, Martina Umemura wrote the book Haramaki, which is one piece that you can wear 6 different ways, and I've knit from that quite a lot. Unfortunately, it's not being published anymore, and I think it was only published in German. But basically, the instructions are fairly simple because all you do is knit a tube, and you can use different colors, different patterns, and depending on how you want to wear it, if you would rather wear it around your neck or as a hat, or whether you want to wear it around your middle. If you have sort of Japanese proportions, you can do all these things with one piece, but if you are a bit taller or bigger, you might want to use different stitch numbers for depending on where you want to wear it. The special thing with this project was that you knit several separate pieces. I think you started in the middle and then you knit the piece, and then you were supposed to cast off, knit the next piece, cast off, and so on and so forth, and then you would sew all the pieces together. And I don't mind sewing too much, but I was a bit worried that with normal seams it would get too tight. And so what I did, I knit the separate pieces, but I put the stitches on hold, and then I used Kitchener stitch to sew the pieces together. I like the fact that the pieces had different sizes, so they come together in a funny way, and you use 2 different colors, so you get 2 halves to your project, and then you can decide how you want to wear it. But if you look on the inside of my project, you can't really see a seam, because with the Kitchener stitch it looks as if the things were knit together. Or knit in one piece. And what it also means is that it stays stretchy. Even where all the seams are, nothing is too tight and it's stretchy. All you can see is where I wove in my ends, so that's okay. And I really enjoyed making this. It's a lot of work, so I never repeated it. But I do like it. And so if I want to show the pink side more, I can wear it like this. But now with this pullover, I wanted to show the lighter side with more of the blue in there. So I'm going to wear it like this. And the pullover I'm wearing is a pure cotton pullover. It was a pattern by Wollerödel back when I was working at Wollerödels. This was not one of the projects that was displayed in the shop window. So I didn't have to make it exactly as it was in the pattern, because in the pattern it was red, which is a color that I also like, but I really wanted to knit a pullover in this beautiful light blue or turquoise color, so I could change the color and I could still show it in the shop so people could see what the project looks like. As I said, it's a pure cotton, and cotton does tend to grow a bit, so I've had this pullover for, I forgot to check. You can check my Ravelry page if you want to know exactly, but I would guess it's between 8 and 10 years old, and it has grown a bit, but not too much. So it's not too long. The sleeves are getting almost too long. I think they were a bit shorter to begin with, and the neckline has grown. So this is where I notice it most. And I sew the shoulder together in Kitchener stitch as well, so you don't see a proper seam, but what you can see is that the stitches don't line up perfectly. So it's half a stitch, because it's a rip pattern, I'm half a stitch off. I don't mind that, but it means if I were to sew it together a bit more, it'd be very obvious, because then it would show, unless I undid the whole cast off, which I don't want to do. So as long as it doesn't slip over my shoulders, I'm going to leave it the way it is. And I like it a lot still, and I keep wearing it. And yeah, so that's what I'm wearing today. Put this back on, and I'll try and get the blue patches to the front, maybe like this. Just keeps my neck a little warm. Okay, so much for what I'm wearing today. Then on to finished objects. Technically, this is half a finished object, but it's a whole pair of socks. So I'm showing it as a finished object, and it's only half a project because this is my sock couple that I knit every year. So these are her socks, and I haven't started his socks yet, but it's the plan to do that this week. I want to give them as a present for Christmas, so I still have a bit of time to finish his socks, but I don't want to wait too long. So the pattern I used for these socks are the Squiggley Madness socks. It was a bonus pattern in the Sock Madness this year. I changed the front of the sock quite a bit by just putting a rib pattern instead of the sort of cable pattern and the embroidered flowers that the pattern calls for, but I'm quite happy with the rib pattern here. I did do all the squigglies. Here I did the 2-color rib and the Picot cast on, and I also did I swapped the colors. So where there are red stripes here, they are black here, and different on this side. And I also, but I didn't have to really work for it, the colors just switch places from the first to the second sock, which is something I like a lot, as you know. And yeah, this makes these socks really, really very colorful. So when she wears the socks, the black stripes will either be both on the outside or both on the inside, depending on how she wears the socks. So it sort of looks the same if I hold them like this or like this. But if I hold them like this, they are different. And I'm quite happy with that. So the colorway is one of the rainforest colorways from this year. And then it's just solid black and red by Opal. Yeah, and I just did 2 colors for the toe. The pattern has you use some of the main color as well, but because my main color is so colorful, I decided to just use the 2 contrast colors for the toe. I'm going to modify the pattern even more for his socks because I'm only going to do 1 contrast color. I'm not going to do a Picot cast on. I'm not going to do the squigglies in the back, and I will just do contrast color stripes, not squiggly. So no crossing the stitches, just a straight line. But you see that once I start them. So my half finished object, my finished pair of socks. Then about the things in progress. I had a very busy week last week with things that did not involve knitting and crocheting. So there are 3 projects that I did not work on last week. So I'm really sorry about that. I'll try and work on all of them this week. But I did not continue knitting on the Instant Crush socks, another Sock Madness pattern. Yeah, hopefully show that to you next week. But I did continue knitting on the film reel socks for my nephew, and I finished the second film reel in the foot. And it seems that the first and third film are sort of alike, and then the second and the fourth are rather alike. So it's quite interesting to see how this yarn, how the colors show up in these little windows, in these little film blipses. So yeah, still enjoying this. 1 more film reel to go, then there's a little toe, and then I can start the second one. And that's all the socks for now. It's only the knit along sock that I'm going to show you later. So yeah, but I already have other socks planned, so no problem there. The next project I'm going to show you is the Haunted House Mystery Knit Along that I'm knitting. And I showed you the beginning last week, and I think I told you that we are getting one little bit of pattern every day. So I have already knit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the clues. And if you don't want to see it because you're still knitting on it and you haven't looked into the pattern yet, then look away now, because now I'm going to show it. So this is clue 1, clue 2, clue 3, 4, 5. And with clue 5 we had used all the colors. And then this was clue 6. And then in clue 7 we had to use color 3 again. And I think I told you that this was supposed to be orange, and I thought, well, if I have purple, light purple pumpkins, I don't mind, and these already look a little bit like pumpkins. But when I saw the clue, I decided, okay, I'll add in some orange. So this was the next clue, and I think it looks fantastic with orange. And then the last clue so far, yesterday's clue is this one. This is just a little pattern that I don't think doesn't mean a lot. And now the next clue uses the color 3 again. So I've already looked at the pattern, didn't have time to knit it, but it uses the color 3 and color 5, so it uses the white. And now I'm not quite sure whether to do the white with the light purple or the white with the orange again, but I'll think about it, and then you'll find out next week what I decided to do. So after today's clue, well, we'll get clues until the 13th. So I'll have all the clues before the next video. So I'll probably have it finished knitting it by next Monday, and then you'll know what I decided to do. I think it looks fantastic. I think it looks very much like Halloween. It has lots of crazy colors in my version, and I really like the way this is knit. So you knit to and fro up until here, then you close it to knit in the round, or the color work is knit in the round, which I think is fantastic, so you never have to look at the floats. Yeah, so I'm not showing the cowl anymore in case you were looking elsewhere. And looking forward to finishing it this week. So with the bite-sized clues every day, it's a very good way of making sure you get your project finished. So this is another reason I didn't knit on the other things. I had to knit on this project every day. And then with being busy with other things, well, you understand, I'm sure. Okay, the next project, little project made of sock yarn, is the little hat that I started last week with the special cast on. And I promise I spent a lot of time knitting the ribbing, but I still haven't finished it. So I'm supposed to knit, I think, 40 or 42 rounds, and I do want to knit all the 40 or 42 rounds so that it's really wide enough to be folded up. But I didn't manage to do more than this. I really hope that this week I can finish the ribbing and I can start the color work, and I know that the color work is going to motivate me a lot to keep knitting on the hat. So that is that. Then my new project. I told you last week that I'm going to take part in the Mystery Knit Along by Stephen West, and the first clue came out last Thursday, but I didn't have all the yarn. I had 3 of my colors, but not the 4th one. I had to order that. I have placed the order, but the yarn hasn't arrived yet. Now, with this Mystery Knit Along, if you are knitting along with it, you know that there was a big discussion with the first clue that some people saw a swastika in the pattern, even though it's not there completely, but it sort of resembles the shape. And then a lot of people made suggestions on how to change things. And then Stephen West published an alternative beginning to the shawl. And then in the end, he completely pulled the first clue. He took it down, so you can't download it anymore. And he replaced it with his alternative clue one, which is a lot easier to knit which is a bit more boring than the original clue one. But it makes sure that nobody is offended, that nobody is hurt. And so in a way, I'm quite glad that my yarn wasn't here yet. So I couldn't start knitting the clue the way it was originally meant to be. But I did knit the beginning. So I'm going to show that to you now. So this is what the beginning of the original clue one looked like. And I only knit the 3 colors that I had, and I couldn't knit the 4th color. So I'm going to put this aside, and I will start the new instructions with my colors. I'll maybe start with the colors 1 to 3, and then I can continue as soon as I get the color 4. And yeah, so not too much to look at, but it shows what the colors look like together. So it's a light gray, a middle gray, and a very dark gray. And my 4th color is going to be black. And the yarn that I'm using is Hansa Farm's old alpaca sock yarn. And to show you what the difference between the old and the new sock yarn is, I brought both of them. So the old baby alpaca socks was 50 grams of yarn that ran 200 meters. And it's sort of the same weight as other sock yarn, and it's sort of the same yardage, but it's just a tiny bit thinner because alpaca is heavier than sheep wool. So they worked on that for a very long time, and then they came up with this alpaca sock yarn, which has 56 grams of weight, and it runs 210 meters. And what they tried to do is come up with an alpaca sock yarn that sort of behaves as if it was sheep's wool. So it's the thickness and the yardage and everything resembles other sock yarn, but because it is made of alpaca, it's just that tiny bit heavier. So it's 56 grams instead of 50 grams, and both yarns are 75% alpaca and 25% polyamide. So it's the usual mix that you're used to for sock yarn, but it's so much softer than most sheep sock yarns. So I think it's a perfect yarn to use for a shawl. And now I'm selling the new sock yarn in my shop, but I still have old sock yarn in my stash. So I decided, I had a look at which colors I have in the old sock yarn, and I actually have all these 3 colors, but I didn't have any more black. So the black, I'm going to use the new sock yarn. So it'll be a tiny bit thicker than the other 3 colors, but I don't think that matters. Some people are going to use some mohair for some of the colors, so that will make it a bit thicker. So maybe I should use some mohair for one of these colors, but not for the black, because the black is already a bit thicker. So I'll think about that, and maybe I'll play around with that. But this is the yarn that I'm planning to use. This is not what I'm going to continue to knit. So things are very exciting. I hope the yarn comes before the second clue is released. So I would really love to knit the first clue and then be able to continue with the second clue, which comes on Thursday. So the yarn still has time to arrive either today or on Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll see about that. So that's the only new cast on I have today. Then I continued knitting on the V-back tee. And I am using 3 colors. So with the V-back tee, you can use 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 colors. You could probably even use more colors, but I think the pattern is written for these different combinations. And I'm using Sparkly Yarn by Opal. This is my first color, and so far I've used about 40 grams of that. This is my color 2. I've used about 60 grams of that, so more than color 1. And I'm now knitting with color 3, and no idea how much I'm going to use up. And this is what the pullover looks like at the moment. So this is the side with the V-neck, which is supposed to be the back, but can be worn in the front. And that side hasn't really changed a lot because I'd already done the first part of the short rows last week. So this bit really looks exactly the same as it looked last week. But I have, since last week, I've incorporated the color 3. So I had to do a color change while I was doing short rows, which is not something I can recommend because you have to cut the yarn most of the times. I think you're supposed to cut it all you have to, I think you're supposed to always cut the yarn, but I think there were 2 or 3 places where I could knit 2 rows with the same color. So I pulled the yarn over. Not 100% sure it was a good idea, but that's what I did. So on this side where the round neck is, which is supposed to be the front, you can see that I've done can't really see the color change because the colors are quite similar, but you can see that I'm now only knitting with color 3, which does not have any pink in it. So it's a lot more obvious. And now I'm only knitting with color 3 now, but I'm still doing short rows, but it's sort of the second set of short rows. So on this bit, you can see there were short rows with the pink, and I'm now knitting short rows with the dark, and I'm slowly working my way towards the V bit, to the middle of the V-neck. So that's what I'm doing now, and it's very exciting. I tried it on, it looks good. It seems to come out at the right size. Here's some more colors going on so it's easier to see. So this was the color change with the first set of short rows, and now I'm doing the second set of short rows with the third color, and you can see how the short rows sort of meet here, and I've come to this bit, and now I have to do all the short rows that bring me back to this point. Yeah, very excited. I still have no idea how to work the arms because I don't know how much yarn I will have left of this, and so I'm already thinking about ideas, but haven't made a decision yet. So that's the V-back tee. I did not knit on the light blue pullover with this fantastic yoke pattern, Pica de Reina de Picas. So another project I have to focus on this week. I also did not crochet on the shawl that I'm crocheting out of the hand-dyed yarn, but I did crochet on the pullover out of squares. And the word I couldn't remember last week was front post and back post stitches. So last week I was knitting this row with the 3 stitches like this and 3 stitches like that. And then the next row was single crochets or British double crochets, and they are crocheted front post. Yep, they're front post stitches, and that's what sort of makes sure that the stitches are sort of held together, and that's how the pattern comes out more clearly. And last week I said I wanted to stop at that point and wash and block the square, but I realized that with these little stitches, especially as they were worked front post stitches, it would have been really difficult to get the blocking wire through. So I added 1 row of double crochets or trebles to be able to get the wire through, and I finished those rounds. I didn't actually wash it, I just made it wet, and then I blocked it, and this is what it looks like now. And I absolutely love it. I think I liked it before, but now I absolutely love it. I love how the pattern is really so much nicer now that it's blocked, and it's a nice square. I think it's a tiny bit too small to work as a front or back for a pullover. I could probably use it for a very short top, but I want it to be more of a pullover, not just a top. So I will add some more rounds. Still haven't decided which rounds to add to that. But yeah, the first thing I want to do is measure it and compare it to other summer pullovers that I have. And then I'll make it, once I know how many more centimeters I want, then I'll make a decision on which rounds to use. Yeah, and as soon as I've done that, I can start the second piece, which means I have to make a decision on what pattern to use for the second part of the pullover. So that's the only crochet project for today, and that brings me to our knit along, and that's still the banana socks that I'm knitting. So the pair I'm knitting at the moment, I'm using this Black Dragon colorway by Opal, and I have decided that the sock is long enough now So this is now a German size 38-39. The girl I'm knitting these for, I think her shoe size at the moment is 36 or 37. So this is already a bigger size than she wears at the moment. And it's still fairly long. So even if her feet grow more, she could still wear them and she would just have a little less leg. And I think I knit the first round of decreases for the toe. And this time I remembered to do the toe that I show in my video. With the first two pair of banana socks that I knit for the knit along, I just did my star toe just automatically without thinking about it. But this time I actually remembered, and I'm now doing the I think it's called a classic toe, but you'll see next week you can see the finished toe and then you can see what I mean. And then So I hope to, or I'm pretty sure I'm going to finish the toe this week, start the second sock, and then I can show that next week. Yeah, so that was everything I knit and crocheted last week. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.